Americans won't let Republicans abuse us forever, but how long will this last? Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. How much longer are Americans going to allow themselves to be abused by Republicans? I wrote about this over at buzzflash.com this morning. Ever since the 1920s, when the Teddy Roosevelt progressive revolution that was continued by William Howard Taft to a certain point, when the Roosevelt-Taft Republican Party died, and it was taken over by what ended up being the Herbert Hoover corporate Republican Party. I mean, it was Warren Harding in 1920, and then Coolidge, and then Hoover. So you had these three Republican presidents from 1920 to 1932, and they brought us the Great Depression. But ever since the 1920s, when big business took over the Republican Party, which led, as I said, right to the Great Depression, Republicans have fought to give taxpayer dollars to billionaires and giant corporations while actively trying to screw working people and the poor, to destroy unions, to cut back on benefits to people who are in poverty, to defund our public schools. You know, both Bush and Trump, George W. Bush and Donald Trump, both lost the national vote. They only got into the White House because of the Electoral College loophole. The majority of Americans, and let's start calling it that, the majority of Americans have not elected a Republican for president since 1988. And even in 1988, when the majority of Americans elected George Herbert Walker Bush, they did so because he was running racist ads, the Willie Horton ad, and he succeeded in scaring the hell out of white people in the suburbs, which is exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do right now. But we have not, as a nation, the majority of Americans have not voted for a Republican for president in 1988. What is that? 32 years ago. In 32 years, because the majority of Americans know what the Republican Party is all about. And now the Republican war on average Americans has gotten worse. I mean, the Republicans right now, this is the news of today. The Republican caucus, the Republicans in the House, the Republicans in the Senate, but specifically in the Senate right now, they're nearly coming to blows. They're having fights. They're having arguments. In the House, they're all yelling at Liz Cheney. I mean, they're having these knockdown dragouts about whether the $600 a month unemployment benefit that 25 million Americans are getting right now should be cut to $400, to $100, or to zero. Think about that. Let that sink in for a moment. Meanwhile, of course, they want hundreds of billions of dollars in additional subsidies, tax breaks, and outright gifts and grants to America's largest corporations, to hedge funds, to banksters, and even to individual billionaires. They're in there in the Republican proposals. To hell with the working people, the unemployed people. We want to give more money to billionaires. They fund our campaigns, don't you know? I mean, it's just insane. Instead of helping unemployed workers and the poor, the Republican Party wants to send federal secret police into our cities to tear gas our mayors and our citizens and to shoot at journalists and petitioners. People petitioning their government peacefully for redress of grievance. This country right now is at a crossroads. And we have to decide, and this election in November is going to be a part of this referendum on this, but also what's happening in the streets, what's happening on social media, what's happening in neighborhoods, what's happening in workplaces, all of this. Are we going to continue being a country run by men and Republicans based on white supremacy, greed, and fear? Or are we going to embrace, the values of equality and respect and support for people in need? Which, by the way, those are the values that you see at the top of the pile. In Germany, Taiwan, New Zealand, Iceland, Finland, Norway, and Denmark, the countries that are doing the best with the coronavirus, all run by women. I mean, for 40 years, the Republican Party has worked to reduce America to third world status, and now we're here. And what are they doing? They're purging voters from the rolls. They're making it hard or even impossible to safely vote, all in a desperate attempt to hang on to power.